Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel in partnership with sharpbetting.co.uk, your home for betting tips and analysis. Please click the link in the description to find out more about them. Danny, Elliot, this is the big fight breakdown for possibly the best fight we're going to see in these shores in 2025. Anto Cacace versus Leigh Wood, Nottingham Arena. Former world champion Cacace, former world champion Leigh Wood, but a fight that's really worth looking forward to. We'll dive right into it, gents, as always. Danny, I'll go to you first. Cacace's the slight favourite in this fight. Possibly Leigh Wood's got the better resume, but Cacace's maybe got more momentum. Do you think that's justified? He's only a slight favourite, but he is a favourite going into this fight. Does that surprise you at all? What are your thoughts?
No, he's got to be the favourite going in. Leigh Wood horrendously inactive over the past couple of years. Cacace, although not a spring chicken himself, at what is he, 35, he's in the best form of his career, coming off great wins. Of course, Joe Cordina to win the world title, and then Josh Warrington in good fashion, competitive fight. Only question marks you'd have over Cacace at this stage: what effect is making the weight having on him? But all other factors, you would say, favour Anto Cacace in this fight. All the momentums with him. Leigh Wood, I mean, even in his last fight, that Josh Warrington fight, how long ago was that now? That must be coming up to 2 and a bit years. He was getting dominated in that fight before pulling the knockout out of the bag. When you compare that to the fight Cacace had, obviously didn't stop him and lost rounds, but was in control throughout. So yeah, Cacace the rightful favourite for me.
Do you think he should be a big favourite? Like I'm seeing odds of like 5-4 at this point, but yeah, do you think he should be a bigger favourite in your eyes?
I would have thought so, yeah. I would have thought Cacace would be 1-2, somewhere around that margin. So if you're saying 4-5 from a betting angle, perhaps there's a bit of value there.
Yeah, absolutely. Elliot, give us your thoughts into this fight. Just for reference, I think Leigh Wood's 5-4 underdog, Cacace 4-6. Favours the odds I'm seeing at the moment. But yeah, Elliot, do you think Cacace should be the favourite for this fight?
Yeah, I can't actually disagree with what Danny's saying there. I think you look at it, I mean, obviously the mutual opponents that they've had, obviously Josh Warrington, the time out of the ring, how that's kind of going to play in a factor here. And, you look at kind of Cacace myself and that victory over Cordina, very good win as well. So you kind of look at it from that perspective, really, and say, I can't really talk too much about Leigh because he's been out so long. I think for the reason I suppose it's maybe not as wide as some people necessarily expecting, possibly due to the fact that Leigh Wood obviously has got that kind of equalising punch power that people kind of in the back of your mind, you think Cacace hasn't really got that in comparison to Leigh Wood. So maybe even with an activity, you can kind of pull off a sort of stoppage victory, and obviously he's campaigning at a higher level. So that probably was why it narrows it for me. But I think you've got to, like Danny said, you've got to have Cacace as favourite really just based on recent activity. And he's not been at the City Ground, whatever, watching Chris Wood this season. He's been kind of fighting as well. So I think that's for me the reason why he should be favourite and why he's favourite probably.
Brilliant. I'll stick with you, Elliot. What Leigh Wood's last fight was October 2023. It feels like a lifetime ago, to be honest. I think he was moving up regardless of what happened in that fight against Josh Warrington. He was done at that featherweight, 126 pounds weight limit. If it wasn't for, he could have had 3 fights in the time he's been inactive. What could he have achieved? And I think if you look at other super featherweight world champions, O'Shaquie Foster, Emmanuel Navarrete, of course, um, could he have mixed it with those guys? I think like when it comes to kind of domestic rivalries, I wouldn't say the super featherweight division is kind of overflowing with high level British fighters. So yeah, Leigh Wood possibly would have tried to win another world title. Could he have done that in the last 18 months, do you think?
I think he could have definitely done it. I think he'd have been competitive at that level. I also think there's maybe a chance that he could have fought Joe Cordina maybe around there as well, if you want a sort of a British fight as well. I thought there was maybe a bit of momentum gathering behind that at one point. I think, looking at the kind of super featherweight division, I'm not saying I'd have him beating either Navarrete or Foster, frankly, but I would say he'd definitely be live and definitely worth a sort of world title shot up there. So yeah, I think that's what we'd have done. But I wouldn't have been actually averse to him fighting Joe Cordina himself, to be honest with you, in a sort of a British contest. Maybe those are the 3 fights that he could have had, to be perfectly honest with you. But I'd only with comfort back him to probably beat Cordina out of the 3. But then I'm saying that only because Cordina lost to Cacace. Before that, he was on a hell of a run himself. That would have been a hell of a fight. So we almost kind of got robbed of that, I think, to a degree with this inactivity.
Yes, I imagine Cordina versus Leewood could have been the battle of the inactive fighters. So we'll see if that fight happens again. Danny, what are your thoughts? Leewood was look, he was on a pretty good roll, wasn't he? Beat Josh Warrington, beat Mauricio Lara in the rematch, had that stunning win against Michael Conlan a long time ago now. Could he have kept that momentum going into the super featherweight division, do you think?
The fight for him would have been that rematch with Warrington. I spoke to Josh Warrington a few weeks ago, and he still seemed a bit frustrated, a bit bitter that that rematch didn't materialise. Although, to be fair, he seemed to put more of the blame on Matchroom than Leigh would. And then you speak to Matchroom, and they say it was due to financial demands on the Leigh wood side. I don't think he would have had too much joy, to be honest, with world champions at 130. I think the Navarrete fight would have been a winnable one, or the one I would have made him an underdog in. I think with Shaki Foster, he would have struggled against. Joe Cordina, if Joe was to have hung about at 130, maybe, but he made no secrets that after that loss to the Cacace that he was going to move up in weight. So I think the Warrington one was the one. Financially, that would have been the biggest one, and I think he'll regret maybe not making that one because Josh Warrington seems to have declined a bit in the interim. I didn't think he looked amazing against Assad Khan the other week. In saying that, I don't know how much Leigh would have done. I think he was on the slide going into that Josh Warrington fight. The Mauricio Lara rematch, I thought Lara looked absolutely terrible in that fight. I mean, Leigh boxed well, he done what he had to do, but Lara, who's never had the best feet anyway, was just there to be hit. He was terrible. So I don't know how much success Leigh would have had if he continued to be active at a high level. I think despite how poorly he was doing in the first Warrington fight, I think a rematch would have been the most winnable big fight that realistically could have happened.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's a shame because it was a great fight. It was an entertaining fight, and we should have seen a rematch. And then now we possibly won't ever. Danny, can obviously both these guys are former world champions. Both these guys are kind of possibly in the grander stage of their careers. Can either fighter win a world title again? It might be a silly question because it could just be about the biggest fights possible, and titles may be a bit redundant at this stage of their careers. But considering who the champions are at super featherweight, I don't fancy either of them to kind of move up and win a world title at lightweight, that's for sure. But can you see either fighter winning a world title again?
I wouldn't have thought so, no. I mean, we mentioned Navarrete, Shaki Foster. I'd give them little chance now at this stage of his career. I think is what's his name? Is it Rocky Hernandez fighting for the vacant? Wouldn't fancy him at all against him. He's very heavy-handed, very aggressive. So no, I don't see either going on to win a world title again. Cacace probably the more likely, you would say, if he beats Leigh Wood in good fashion. But at 35, continuing to make that weight, yeah, it is going to take a toll against a younger, fresher fighter, which all of the other world champions are. So no, not for me. I think I'm not sure even they would pursue world title fights. I think it is just for both of them. What's the most money at this stage?
Yeah, I agree, and it's a shame. I think if you look at other British names in the division, it's kind of Ryan Garner, Jazza Dickens. These guys, they're good fighters, but they're not. I don't think we're going to see those fights. They're just not massive fights for Cacace or Leigh Wood at this stage of their careers. Elliot, do you agree with Danny? Do you disagree with Danny? Can you see either fighter kind of winning this fight and then challenging and winning a world title again?
No, I agree with Danny. Agree with Danny fully there. I don't see that these guys becoming world champions again. The only sort of slight disagreement I would have would be that I actually probably make Leigh Wood more likely to win a world title if out of the two of them, just because I think he can punch hard. I'm basing that solely off of that. I don't think, like you said, the age factor with Cacace as well. 35, 36, I think is a big factor as well. So no, I don't see either of them, making the sort of summiting that world title level again with the champions they've got around those divisions. Unfortunately, no.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But it's going to be a great fight on 10th of May. Fantastic clash of styles. We'll do some predictions, chaps, just to round things off. Elliot, couple of
don't
weeks
go
to
too
go
far.
fight.
Yeah,
I'm going to go to you first. A couple of weeks to go, as we've said. Cacace, only the slight favourite here. But where's your head at in with a couple of weeks to go?
it's on Mars, mate. I don't actually know. What's going to happen. To be honest with you, I'm looking at it going. If I had to put a bet on it, I'd probably go Cacace points. Frankly, that's probably where I would look at it. But I also don't rule out the fact that Leigh Wood might might sort of catch him and roll back to the years that we've seen him do before. So I don't rule out possibly a Wood KO, but I think if I had to put money on it either way, I'd go Cacace points.
Fantastic. I think one I'm really interested to see how both fighters look at the weigh-in for this fight. Cacace, he's been at super featherweight for a long time, and I thought Leigh Woods, those last couple of fights he had at featherweight, he looked like a skeleton. I thought he really did, and just because he's moved up in weight for 4 extra pounds, I think he's now still going to struggle to make super featherweight if you consider how long it's been since he's had to make weight. So I think that's some fights weigh-ins are more interesting than others. Obviously, we just had Eubank Ben, haven't we, where the weigh-ins were very interesting. But I think the weigh-in for this fight is going to be interesting as well. I'm going to join you, Elliot. I'm going to go Cacace, but I'm actually going to go for a late stoppage. I think Leigh Wood has been inactive at a vital part of his career. And I think going back in against a fighter like Cacace, who seems to be in the form of his life, I'll go Cacace round 9 or 10. Danny, come to you. You're going to make a hat trick or are you going for Leigh Wood? Let us know.
I'm definitely not going for Leigh Wood. I'm going Cacace, and it's just a question of whether it's a late stoppage or points. I think I'm going to go late stoppage as well. I think we saw this weekend past what happens when a fighter at that stage of his career is out for a long time in Leigh Smith versus Aaron McKenna. Don't get me wrong, Cacace is nowhere near as fresh as Aaron McKenna, and the concerns over the weight, they wouldn't lean me to pick Leigh Wood. They would maybe lean me to think that Leigh Wood might last the distance, but he's been so inactive and the performances he was putting in before the inactivity, like just to go over what I said at the start, he lost every second of that first fight to Josh Warrington, really, certainly the majority of the rounds. So I think he was perhaps on the slide there. I think the inactivity is only going to have made him worse. The 4 pounds up in weight will help, but not enough for me. I'm going to go Cacace stoppage, similar to yourself, Elliot, maybe rounds 9, 10.
Right. All right, we'll see it. Look, really good fight. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing atmosphere in the Nottingham Arena on the 10th of May, and we will see what happens. Elliot, Danny, thank you both very much for your time, and we will speak again very soon.
Cheers.
Thank you, mate. As always, thank you guys for watching.